Hello, my name is Dr. Ben Bernstein. I'm a performance psychologist. For the last 40 years, I work with people who have to perform under pressure. A number of the people that I've worked with over these years have been teenagers. And I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about teenage depression. I'd like to address this very important, very serious, very present subject. Teenage years have always been turbulent years, but particularly so now, what with COVID, with political upheaval, social unrest, climate change, you name it. These years are particularly stressful for teenagers. Let's look at some of the specific ones that teens face. Of course, the first is academics. Whether they're going to go on to a job after high school or go on to vocational school or go on to college, academics play a key role. And there's a lot of pressure to do as well as they can so that they can really start building toward their future. The second are any kind of competition, whether it's in sports or performances or just the general competitive atmosphere of most high schools. Third are social media. I don't think any of us over 30 or 40 really have a clue what it's like to be a teenager these days with all the social media that's going on. Check out how often the teen that you know checks his or her phone, looking for who's posting what, who's doing what, who's saying what about whom. It's a tremendous amount of stress and pressure. And then the last thing has to do with identity and independence. Issues of identity are very prominent these days in ways that many of us over the age of, say, 20 or 30 really don't have experience of, as well as just the general aspect of getting older, becoming more independent, breaking away from home. The turbulence of the teenage years has been really exacerbated by the COVID pandemic. According to the data that we have, more than a third of high school students reported that they experienced poor mental health during the pandemic. However, more recent statistics show that 44% report that they persistently feel sad or hopeless during the past year. This is a very, very serious statistic. If you have a child who's a teenager, or someone in your family, or you work with teens, or you're around teens, it's absolutely essential that you're alert to the signs of teenage depression. Let's look at them together. The first one is feeling sad or hopeless or worthless. So this is not just a kind of bad mood. This is really when a kid sinks into this feeling of like, what's life all about? It's not really worth much. I'm not really worth much. And just a general feeling of sadness. Second one is just a loss of pleasure and just not getting any pleasure from anything, from activities, from social situations, from basic life functions like eating and sleeping and exercising, and also that feeling of loneliness, being isolated. The next sign or symptom is weight loss or sleep issues. Kids who are depressed, or people who are depressed generally, sometimes really don't eat very much. Sometimes they overeat, so the weight can go up and down. And sleep is really often very badly affected. The last and most serious are thoughts of death or suicide. If any of these symptoms are apparent in a teen that you are related to or that you are with, it's really essential that you think about what are the next steps and how you can actually help this teen. These are very serious signs and symptoms of depression that need to be addressed as soon as possible. Early identification of these signs and symptoms of teenage depression can lead to early intervention. Intervention can take many forms. Of course, the first one is just speaking to your teen or the teen that you know about what he or she is experiencing. They may or may not be forthcoming with you, and they may need someone else to talk about. So this could be a counselor, a clergy person, someone else in the family, someone that they feel that they can actually confide in. This breaks the disconnection of feeling lonely and feeling isolated. You can seek help through a mental health that's either if you have a healthcare plan, or you can go on the web and look for services in your area related to teenage mental health. I strongly encourage you to do this. A particularly helpful immediate resource is a national hotline for talking about mental health issues related to teens, depression, suicide. Anything that is of that kind of concern should be directed immediately to help. If you have no local help or you can't make any connection with someone in your area, go to the hotline. Here's the number, the website as well. These are definitely very challenging time for teenagers particularly. Be very attentive to signs of teenage depression in a teen that you're related to, that you're working with, or that you know about. There is help available. The early identification leads to early intervention, which can be most helpful to your teen. Take the signs very seriously and take action.